Hi guys and welcome back to the Mighty Blues. My name is of course Cameron and welcome back today to another live stream. It is Tuesday, I hope you all are doing well. It is the game preview to Everton's upcoming Premier League fixture against Arsenal tomorrow evening at the Emirates. The reverse fixture of course from the one that took place a couple of weeks ago at Goodison Park, which saw Sean Dyche picking up his first 3 points as Everton manager in his debut as Everton manager. A massive 3 points, of course, Everton's first win since October, and a win that come to the surprise of a lot of people, not only Evertonians, but of course a lot of football fans around the country, and certainly a lot of Arsenal fans. Everton were taking on Arsenal, during a time of really, really good form for them. A team that pretty much seemed unstoppable, a team that were flying at the top of the league, beating everybody, scoring against everybody, winning games of football comfortably, and Everton were the complete opposite, losing to everybody. We'd just come off the back of a defeat to relegation rivals Southampton at Goodison, as well as a defeat to relegation rivals West Ham United away from home, and it was looking really, really doom and gloom for Everton. And this game, the reverse fixture of this game, was one that I think we all sort of sat here and, when we were speaking about it during that preview, we said it was pretty much a free hit, and we spoke about the fact that game, as well as the Merseyside derby which followed, were two games that we weren't really going to take much note of in terms of Sean Dyche's first couple of months in charge of the football club, and we all sort of looked and said the real work started in the games that followed that Merseyside derby, starting with the Leeds game and then, of course, the Aston Villa game as well. We didn't think we'd get anything out of Arsenal at Goodison. We did. It was a fantastic performance. It was a really, really good 3 points. And, I think we saw on the day that, Everton are capable of defending well and are capable of setting up with a structure, in order to keep teams out. Obviously, we got a goal from a set piece, which ultimately was a little bit down to the fact that Arsenal were poor at defending them. But it was a really, really, really big win. And then, of course, a week or so later, the reverse fixture was announced, and it was, announced that it would be sandwiched in, over the next few weeks or so. And that game is tomorrow evening, Arsenal at the Emirates. Listen, it goes without saying, this will be a completely different game to the one at Goodison Park a couple of weeks ago for many reasons, really. One, and I think the big one being that it's away from home. Everton are absolutely disastrous away from home against anybody, let alone against Arsenal. We've got a really, really, really poor record at the Emirates over the years. Not only when Arsenal have been good and, as they are now, fighting for a league title and in really, really good form this season, but also, even over the years when Arsenal weren't so good, or, we're struggling, or we're under a little bit of pressure, or, whatever situation they've been in, Everton have never had a good record of going to the Emirates and picking up points. I think we've won one game in recent memory, and it was that game during the COVID season where we beat everybody away from home. And we may have picked up a couple of draws in my lifetime as well, but other than that, it's been a fairly depressing place for Everton to go and travel to, and I'm not completely convinced that will change tomorrow evening. I mean, obviously, Arsenal still currently sit top of the Premier League table, 24 games played, 18 wins, 3 draws and 3 losses. They've only actually lost one before Everton beating them. They've lost another game since then. 57 points, 2 points ahead of Manchester City, of course, with the incentive for them to go 5 points clear at the top of the Premier League table if they are to win tomorrow evening. As I mentioned, that 1-0 win, 4th of February, so, not even that long ago, 3 weeks ago, the beginning of this month at Goodison. And then Arsenal had a little bit of a sort of a ropey spell. It's drawn 1-1 to Brentford at the Emirates. They'd lost 3-1 to Manchester City at the Emirates, but then, as all good teams do, and as all potential title winning teams do, when they go through a little bit of a sticky spell, when they go through a little bit of a rough patch, they come out the other end of it, and they get back to to work, and that's exactly what Arsenal did. A big 4-2 win against Aston Villa away from home, scoring the winning goal in that game in the last 90 seconds of it. I know they ended up scoring another one on top of that, but it was a really, really tight game. I think they come from behind in that game as well, and then of course most recently beating Leicester City away from home. So Arsenal are well and truly back on track after the little bit of a dry patch that of course come after the defeat at Goodison Park. As I mentioned, this one isn't one I'm particularly looking forward to. I was speaking to Troops yesterday. I'm sure a lot of you will know Troops, massive Arsenal fan, formerly a member of AFTV, now obviously over on Barstool Sports. He was very kind to have me on his channel to have a little bit of a conversation about this game. And, I was very open and honest about my lack of excitement surrounding this fixture. It doesn't mean I won't be there. I will be on the coach on the way to Arsenal this time tomorrow, and I'll be there at the Emirates with thousands of other Evertonians come 8 o'clock tomorrow night. But, it absolutely goes without saying that this is an extremely difficult game of football for Everton to get anything out of, especially off the back of what was a really, really, really poor result against Aston Villa at Goodison Park at the weekend. Obviously, as we addressed yesterday in the review, not the worst performance by any sense of the imagination, and definitely not a performance that we should all be particularly losing our heads about. But the one thing that was absolutely obvious during that defeat against Aston Villa, and has been absolutely obvious all season, is our complete lack of any real quality or any real ability in front of goal. And, we created a couple of half opportunities against Villa. We couldn't take them. Will we get the opportunity to do that again on tomorrow evening? I'm not too sure. This could be an absolute disaster. However, looking positively, and I do think it's important to look positively when we do these previews. And you might be thinking, oh, Cam, you're clutching here, you're reaching, you're clutching at straws to try and find anything that you can look positively towards. But, Everton have only picked up 7 points over the course of the last, 4 months, something like that. 7 points since October. 3 of them come against Leeds United a couple of weeks ago at Goodison, of course. But 3 of them come against Arsenal at Goodison, and 1 come against Manchester City at the Etihad. So out of the 3 games that Everton have actually taken points out of post the World Cup break, 1 of them was against, arguably the best team in the country over the last 5-6 years in Manchester City away from home, and 3 of them were against the best team in the country this season. Okay, it was at Goodison Park, very, very different, but that draw against Manchester City really come out of nowhere for Frank Lampard, didn't it? It was jammed in between us losing massively important games against teams in and around our position, at home, away from home, and then all of a sudden we went to Manchester City on New Year's Eve, a nigh on impossible task, and we managed to get a point out of it. So it isn't beyond the realms of possibility that Everton gets something out of tomorrow. I do think it's highly unlikely, and I do think it would mean Arsenal having an off day, and I'm not too sure that they will do that, given they know the importance of the position that they're in at the moment, going into March with a potential 5-point lead at the top of the Premier League table would be massive for them. So realistically, are they going to allow themselves to put in a subpar performance? I'm not too sure. For me, Sean Dyche has got to do something different. We can't see, Neil Maupay up front on his own again, because it simply will not work. It hasn't worked before. It hasn't worked when we've played teams like Aston Villa, who were just good Premier League sides at Goodison. It hasn't worked when we've played teams, that are in and around the same position as us. So it won't work when we're playing the best team in the land away from home. So if it was me, I'd be going with 2 up front. I'd be putting Ellis Sims and Neil Maupay up there to see if they can at least help themselves a little bit. There's even an argument to put Damari Gray in there instead of Neil Maupay. I'm not too sure the manager will do that. He may put Damari Gray on one of the wings instead of Alex Iwobi, and maybe drop Alex Iwobi, back into the centre of the midfield, and maybe take Idrissa Gana Gueye out. I'm not too sure, but I would definitely be having 2 up front tomorrow, because ultimately, if Everton have got any hope of getting anything out of this game, it will be massively difficult with just Neil Maupay up there doing very little as he has done for the last however many weeks and months. Also, of course, at the other end of the pitch, defensively, I think it's very likely that Everton will see that we will see a five at the back formation tomorrow. I just can't really see the manager persisting with the centre-back partnership of Conor Cody and James Tarkowski, given how susceptible they've been to making mistakes and conceding goals recently. I think it could be an absolute field day for the likes of Gabriel Martinelli. There's reports that Gabriel Jesus might return for this game. The likes of Eddie Nketiah, Bukayo Saka, of course. We saw what Emi Buendia managed to do to Conor Cody on the weekend, and it wasn't very pretty. And we're now talking about a forward line who are on, absolutely immense form and who are playing really, really well at the moment. So, again, I expect it to be a very defensive performance. I expect it to be a very... I don't like using the word negative because it obviously has bad connotations. It is a word used to describe the way I think Everton will set up and play tomorrow because, I highly doubt that we're going to go out there with the thought process of let's get at Arsenal, attack them and try and play football against them, because that simply will not work. But if Everton do go out with the so-called negative, sort of system of sitting everybody behind the ball and trying hitting them on the counter-attack and get something out of the game, then I've got absolutely no problem with it whatsoever. Now, don't get me wrong. I've said this before when coming into games like this, and I'll say it again. Everton could be absolutely perfect tomorrow. Absolutely perfect. And still lose this game of football because of the sheer gap in quality between that Arsenal team and this Everton team, as well as the sheer gap in confidence, and as well as the fact that it's away from home. We're shite away from home wherever we go. Adding on to the fact that it's at a ground that we're notoriously not very good at. So Everton could be absolutely unbelievable tomorrow and still not come away with anything out of this game. However, there's a possibility we can come out of this game with something, but not if we make the mistakes that we did against Aston Villa. Not if Conor Cody gets turned into a pretzel like he did, for Aston Villa's second goal. Not if Idrissa Gana Gueye throws himself on the floor and makes a silly challenge like he did for the penalty. Not if, we get an opportunity to maybe get a goal and go ahead or get back into the game and Abdoulaye Doucouré falls over his feet or Dwight McNeil's terrified to have a shot. So, it is very difficult to look at this game and try and envision anything other than a defeat. But I'm an Evertonian and I'll never sit here and say, pointless talking about this one, Blues, because we're going to get battered, because that's not always the case, and it would be silly for me to do that. Again, there's absolutely no doubting how difficult this fixture will be. It will be extremely difficult. But that is ultimately the task for the manager, and the manager for me has got to go out and at least show his ability to, at least show us that there was an attempt to do something different. Listen, if Everton go out tomorrow and we plays 2 up front and we play 5 at the back and we play really, really well and we battle and we work hard and we lose the game, 2-1 or 2-0 with 2 late goals, then okay, we'll sit here and we'll go, we've lost the game, but we can sit here and go, we tried something different, it worked, and ultimately their quality was just a little bit too much in the latter stages of the game. I don't think people will be massively disheartened about that, given this game was sandwiched in between a run of really important fixtures. We've got Forest away on Sunday, which is absolutely huge. However, if Everton go out tomorrow and Sean Dyche plays Neil Maupay up front on his own, and he plays Conor Cody and James Tarkowski as a centre-back too, and they, make a number of mistakes and Everton lose this game 2 or 3-0, and Neil Maupay has a couple of opportunities and misses them, then there will be a lot of fans that'll point the blame at the manager and say, well, hang on, whilst we understand that these players aren't good enough and they're not playing well enough at the moment, and Arsenal are absolutely fantastic at the minute, you still could have made tactical changes to try something different. And I do think the manager has to try something different tomorrow, because that system and that formation and that, those players that played against Aston Villa, for me, have got very, very, very little chance of getting anything of this game. And, the Blues says not sure Dyche has ever played 5 at the back in his career. It's almost guaranteed before 4-5-1. 4-5-1 would be a disaster. One lone striker on his own will be a nightmare. You may as well not have a striker because he won't do anything. And I fear that if it's 4-5-1, for me, I'd take Connor Cody out and I'd put Yerry Mina in. Because I think Yerry Mina to play anyway for me tomorrow, regardless of whether it's a 5 at the back or it's a 4 at the back, because I think Yerry Mina is, out of all of our defenders, he's the most likely to cause a disturbance. He's also a big threat from set pieces, and Arsenal have had issues with defending set pieces this season. Not massive issues, of course, because they're still top of the league and they're still playing brilliantly, but they've had issues at defending set pieces, as shown in the game at Goodison Park a couple of weeks ago. Yerry is obviously a massive threat in the opposition box, but he's also a defender that will get under people's skin. He's also a defender that will wind people up. He's also a defender that will be able to, to sort of maybe get in the heads of some of the younger Arsenal players who might, not necessarily be experienced enough to be able to deal with somebody of the character of Yerry Mina. So, regardless of whatever the formation is, I would 100% have Yerry Mina in there. If it's a 4 at the back, again, I'm not particularly too happy about that because I just think it leaves us far too open, but Connor Cody would have to come out. If it's a 5 at the back, then obviously Yerry Mina just slots in next to him. But listen, whether we play 4 at the back, 5 at the back, or 25 at the back, this is going to be an incredibly difficult game because ultimately we're coming up against a team that at top of the league are more confident now than I think they've ever been, because they've been through that period of they've been through that period of a little bit of sort of a hiccup in form, and they've managed to come out the other end of it and, pick up a couple of big important wins on the bounce. So, the big question surrounding Arsenal earlier on in the season was, they will go through a period of bad form, because every team does. Every championship winning team goes through a period of form in a season where they have a couple of bad results or a couple of hiccups. Are they capable of getting over that and getting back on track and continuing to power through? And I think Arsenal have answered those questions, so they'll be even more confident than ever. Everton are arguably the least confident we've been in a long, long time. And certainly individual player performances would suggest that is the case. So, yeah, recipe for disaster, really, isn't it? To be honest, but what can we do? Again, it was a game that was sandwiched in between 4 or 5 really, really important games that Everton were looking at, for me, picking up at least 10 to 12 points in. Now, obviously, I had the Aston Villa game being a win, and we haven't won that one. Almost means that we have to go and win on Sunday against Forest. And again, almost means that this game is a little bit of a free hit, which might work in Everton's favour, because it did when we played Manchester City at the Etihad. It did when we played Arsenal at Goodison. It was almost like, this is just a fixture that is, we're going to have to play, and we'll see what happens, and that might mean that the players are a little bit more confident, and that might mean that the players are a little bit more relaxed because there's less pressure on them. But yeah, it's going to be a massively difficult game for Everton to get anything out of. Of course it is, because we're playing, the team that are currently flying at the top of the league away from home. So of course it's going to be difficult. Let's get into some of the live comments then, before we go into my predicted starting 11. Kian says, hi Cam, you alright? I'm not too bad, my mate, hope you're doing well. Strikers less keeperless, says Gang 1. Don't know what that means. Emma says, hi Cam, Zed in this game. Kian says, Dom's hamstrings are like spaghetti. Ryan says, hi. David says, hi. Subchesty says, the Blues is right. The Blues says, people are hoping we can repeat the last game versus Arsenal, but that was with DCL up front and another half 12 kick-off at home. This is a night game away. Without DCL, we don't stand a chance. Very, very good point. I don't think you can look at the results against Arsenal a couple of weeks ago, and you can definitely take things from that game. You can take things like that they're a little bit susceptible to conceding from corners. You can take various different little bits and bobs like that to sort of focus on, but you can't look at that performance and go, well, we beat them a couple of weeks ago, so we should be able to do it again, because it's a completely different kettle of fish this time round. And yeah, it will, again, it will be a massively difficult game of football. Everton is shocking at the Emirates anyway. Absolutely shocking at the Emirates. Partey could miss out, and Jesus definitely will, says David. Well, I heard today that Jesus could potentially return. So we'll wait and see on that one. Maybe a 0-0 if they spoon every shot and they have 90 minutes, but it's near impossible. Well, yeah, and that's what I'm saying. If we're sitting here tomorrow and hopefully we are, or sorry, not tomorrow, Thursday, and we're talking about a positive result, and by a positive result, a 0-0 draw would be a positive result, by the way, then I can almost guarantee it's on the auspices that Arsenal haven't been at the level that they deem acceptable. Don't get me wrong, Everton might have been absolutely unbelievable, but if Everton are at the best and Arsenal are at the best, then Arsenal win this game comfortably. If Everton are at the best and Arsenal are at the best, then Everton can get something out of this game, but that would require Arsenal to put in a subpar performance, and as I said, I'm not too sure that that's likely to happen given the position that they're in, but we'll wait and see. Anyway, let's get into my predicted starting 11 because that's what we're here to do, isn't it? That's what we do on these previews. In goal, Jordan Pickford made a couple of big saves against Aston Villa, of course, at 0-0 to keep Everton in the game. Obviously, I don't think he was at fault for either of the goals. It was just some really, really poor decision making and some really, really poor defending, but nothing at the responsibility of Jordan Pickford. Right back, I'm actually going to go with Ben Godfrey. I don't think that Seamus Coleman would be capable of playing 2 games in 4 days. And I don't particularly think Seamus Coleman was particularly great against Aston Villa either. Put it this way, if Seamus starts, I think he's calling to be targeted by that Arsenal forward line because of his age, because of the fact that he played 90 minutes only a couple of days ago. And whilst I'm not 100% convinced Sean Dyche will play Ben Godfrey there, because Sean Dyche just strikes me as the type of manager that is very, if you're a centre-back, you're a centre-back, if you're a right-back, you're a right-back, if you're a left-back, you're a left-back. But having said that, you've got to do what you've got to do. And for me, I'd have Ben Godfrey at right-back all day. I would have a 3 at the back, whether or not this is going to happen. I would have a 3 at the back. I'd have Mina, Cody and Tarkowski, with Mina sort of being the middleman and the one that is the wind up, the one that does try and get under people's skin, the one that does try and wind them up a little bit. Probably going to be Mikalenko at left wing back, let's be honest, or left back. Again, not particularly happy about that because I think Mikalenko's massively at fault for a couple of the chances Aston Villa had on Saturday, but we haven't really got any other option. Gang says Cam hates Coleman but loves Pickford. Mad, not really. No, Seamus Coleman's just at an age where playing 2 games in 4 days isn't really, isn't really feasible, is it? Or playing 3 games in a week isn't really feasible, and we haven't got any other options. So, and Jordan Pickford has done nothing to suggest he should be out of this team. So yeah, it probably will be Mikalenko at left wing back. If we had other options, then I would explore them. But let's be honest, it's clear Ruben Vinagre, is for whatever reason not getting a look in this team. Into the midfield, then I'm gonna go with a 5. Oh, what do I do? 5-4? No, probably not 5-4-1. I'll probably go with a midfield 3 of Iwobi, Garner, and Doucouré. No, that's wrong. Iwobi, Onana, and Doucouré. I'd probably take Garner Gay out. Similar reasons to Coleman. Is Garner Gay going to be able to play 3 games in a week? I'm not so sure. Iwobi hasn't really been very effective on the wing. Now, don't get me wrong. He had he wasn't unbelievably effective in the midfield for the last couple of months. But I think playing him back in midfield is probably the best option, and I think taking Garner out. Listen, Garner's made, I don't care what anybody says, whether you love him, whether you don't love him, whether you think he's been great since he returned. He's made about 4 or 5 mistakes that have led directly to goals, and it's not good enough. And you can't afford to do that against a team like Arsenal away from home. So I'd have Onana, Doucouré, and Iwobi in there. Hopefully Doucouré has got a pair of football boots that fit him this week. And then up front, I'd probably go with Gray and Sims, to be honest with you. But then again, Maupay, I'd go with Maupay and Sims. Now, I know some people will say, well, you're leaving Damari Gray out again. Damari Gray come on the other day, and again, don't get me wrong, I'm not going to blame him. I'm not going to sit here and say it's his fault we didn't get anything out of the game, but he wasn't very good. He didn't have much of an impact on the game. He didn't do much. He wasn't very good. Sims, with his height and his ability in the air, it could be an asset. And Maupay, these hate Maupay, and Maupay hates these. And if he can get under the skin and he can wind them up a little bit, then who knows? He might cause a sending off. He might cause a kerfuffle. It might work in Everton's favour. It might just work in Everton's favour. Let's be honest, very, very unlikely that this will be the team that starts. But there you go. That is my predicted starting 11 anyway. But look, not much more to say. This will be an extremely difficult game of football. We all know that. I don't think anybody's under any illusions of anything different. I'll be there myself, so hopefully for the sake of a 6-7 hour coach journey, we get to see something a little bit more than we're expecting. But yeah, we can only hope, can't we? We can only hope. But there you go. Let us know your thoughts in the comment section down below. If you have watched live, massive thank you to everybody for getting involved. If you watch this a YouTube video, please leave your thoughts down below, and we'll get involved with as many of them as we can as well. We'll be back with the instant match reaction and the play ratings, of course, tomorrow, so look out for those. And yeah, let's just cross our fingers and hope that Everton can get anything out of this game. But big thanks for watching. Leave a like if you enjoyed it, subscribe if you're new, and we'll see you later.